We now have some breaking news involving the special counsel's investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents. NBC's Julie Sirkin is reporting from the Hill. We have been waiting to see when there might actually be copies of that investigation. I know that Congress was waiting for that. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, I can tell you, Chris, that in the last 20 minutes or so, two sources are telling myself, my colleague Ryan Nobles, that the Judiciary Committees in the House and Senate have received a hard copy of this report, meaning it is printed, it is in their hands, it is not something they've received over email. They are going through it now, and it is spiral bound, which of course will take some time for them to go through it and see what is in it. But certainly Congress has been waiting for this report to drop. This investigation has been going on since last November, when they first found those classified documents. This will be very revealing and telling in terms of what is in the report. Certainly, though, Chris, we do not yet know what is in the special counsel report, but we do know that members of Congress have received it. They are looking through it right now, and of course, we will bring you the latest when we have it, but certainly a culmination of more than a year in which the special counsel has been investigating the president's handling of the classified documents, whether he mishandled those documents, whether it was an issue of carelessness. All of that will come through in this report, which, of course, as I just told you, Congress has now received in the last half an hour or so, Chris.
Julie, thank you for that. Now let's bring in NBC's Monica Alba, who is in Washington for us. I know the White House press secretary was briefing. I have no doubt a question was asked. Tell us what's going on there.
Exactly, Chris. Our colleagues did pose those questions to the White House, but they did not really want to get into any of the specifics here, instead referring to the White House counsel's office as we wait to see what might be contained in this report. But what's really notable, Chris, is what has happened over the last few hours. Once we knew that the Attorney General had notified Congress and the public that this report had concluded and that it would be transmitted, that did open up this question of whether the White House was going to review it and assert privilege over anything that was in that report. Now, we know from today, based on the White House, that the president, they say, in an attempt to continue to be talking about transparency here, decided against redacting anything in this report. So that's where we're starting from. Once we do get our hands on this and are able to go through it, we understand that it will be presented to the public really in its totality in terms of what they can convey here and in terms of the conclusions from this report. But the broader context to all of this, Chris, that's really important from the White House is that these are documents we understand from Joe Biden's time as vice president in the Obama administration, but that were discovered during his time as president in his home in Delaware and in a personal office that he had used in Washington before he became president. And then that opened up all of these different questions about whether there could be classified documents or materials stored elsewhere. And so that is what prompted this. And at the time when this special counsel was appointed, the president had said that there was no there and that he expected this was going to amount to some of his aides who packed up his things and moved them, doing so in a way that was quite careless or perhaps sloppy. That was the original indication in the months when this special counsel investigation started. And then over the course of some weeks, we learned that there was just more information to this. There were more searches, there were some additional documents, but there were a lot of questions raised about why they would be found where they were found. So we have so many questions about what's actually in this report, but the White House has been very clear that they cooperated fully with this investigation. Remember, the president sat down for an interview with Robert Hur, the special counsel in this case, over the course of 2 days, which happened to be the first weekend in October after the October 7th attacks in Israel. That's actually when this sit down took place. The president sat down again over the course of 2 days while so much else was happening on the world stage. So we have a lot of interest, of course, in what's in this report as well from what the president himself offered in terms of those questions and answers, Chris.
And again, very different from what happened with Donald Trump and the questions that were raised about the classified documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago and the way in which it was handled by President Biden versus the former president. Thank you so much, Monica Alba.